Good morning, dear students. Let's begin our social science class. In continuation with history, chapter number 3, NCRT, Nationalism in India, we discussed about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre and we also discussed what were its consequences and how finally Mahatma Gandhi was forced to withdraw Satyagraha movement. Now, here we will see one Khilafat issue that was very important, and this was a major source of united of being of Muslims and Hindu. And Mahatma Gandhi saw this opportunity to unite Hindu and Muslim and to fight together against Britishers. Actually, Muslims, or over here, that is Ottoman Turkey, they had one emperor whose name was Khalifa, and actually a harsh peace treaty was signed upon him by the Britishers, and they were against it, and that is they were in khilaf of it. So that's why it is known as Khilafat. And over here, Mahatma Gandhi thought of it as an opportunity to bring Hindu and Muslim under a single umbrella of unification, and that's why after that the leaders, Muslim leaders like Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali, they discussed with Mahatma Gandhi for unification, and then at the Congress session in September 1920, he convinced other leaders also to start non-cooperation movement and in support of Khilafat as Swaraj. Now, Swaraj means the complete independence, as well as Khilafat means to oppose Britishers that was imposed by Muslim people. While the Rowlatt Satyagraha had been a widespread movement, it was still limited mostly to cities and towns. Mahatma Gandhi now felt the need to launch a more broad-based movement in India, but he was certain that no such movement could be organized without bringing Hindus and Muslims closer together. One way of doing this, he felt, was to take up the Khilafat issue. The First World War has ended up with the defeat of Ottoman Turkey. One way of doing this, he felt, was to take up Khilafat issue. Now we have discussed till Ottoman Turkey. The First World War had ended with the defeat of Ottoman Turkey, and there were rumors that a harsh peace treaty means that is not good, cruel. Peace means we know that is any act of being with pleasure. Peace treaty, and treaty is any contract, was going to be imposed on Ottoman Emperor, the spiritual head of Islamic world. Now he was a head, actually a spiritual, means many people believed him, and his name was Khalifa. To defend the Khalifa's temporal powers, means his powers everything, a Khilafat committee was formed in Bombay in March 1919. Now students, you can realize over here that when we saw of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919, that was because of Rowlatt Act. At the same time over here you can see in the March 1919 this Khilafat was formed. A young generation of Muslim leaders like brothers Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali began discussing with Mahatma Gandhi about the possibility of a united mass action on the issue. Gandhiji saw this as an opportunity to bring Muslims under the umbrella of a unified national movement. At the Calcutta session of the Congress in September 1920, he convinced other leaders of the need to start a non-cooperation movement in the support of Khilafat as well as for the Swaraj. So this was all about the Khilafat movement. It is a 5-mark important question. You need to write it in your copies also. Now we will realize the importance of non-cooperation. Why was there a need of non-cooperation that was being discussed by Mahatma Gandhi along with the Muslim leaders Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali? But why was it so? Why do we need to have a non-cooperation movement? In his famous book Hind Swaraj, that was published in 1909, Mahatma Gandhi declared that British rule was established in India with the cooperation of Indians and had survived only because of his cooperation. If Indians refused to cooperate, British rule in India would collapse within a year and Swaraj would come. How could non-cooperation become a movement? Now see, according to Gandhiji's point of view, we Indians were only the one who were responsible for the formation of British government in our country, and now with our help only they could be freed from the British government. Gandhiji proposed that the movement should unfold in stages. It should begin with the surrender of titles that the government awarded and boycott of civil services, army, police, courts, and legislative councils, schools, and foreign goods. Now, this was the main idea of Gandhiji. He wanted to boycott all the civil services that were given by government to general public. Then, in the case the government used repression, a full civil disobedience campaign would be launched. Now, here only he had an idea of civil disobedience. Civil disobedience means to disobey the orders of civil or government. Through the summer of 1920, Mahatma Gandhi and Shaukat Ali toured extensively, mobilizing popular support for the movement. Many within the Congress were, however, concerned about the proposals. They were reluctant to boycott the council elections scheduled for November 1920, and they also feared that the movement might lead to a popular violence. In the month between September and December, there was an intense tussle within the Congress. For a while, there seemed no meeting point between the supporters and opponents of the movement. Finally, at the Congress session in Nagpur in December 1920, a compromise was worked out and where the non-cooperation movement was adopted. Now, how did movement unfold? Who participated in it? And how did different social groups conceive of the idea of non-cooperation movement? Means how did they come to know about it? Now, let's discuss it. It was in the months between September and December. Means there was a dispute in the Congress. And there was a no meeting point for the supporter and opponents of the movement. But afterwards in Nagpur in December 1920, the Congress session, there was a compromise and hence non-cooperation movement was adopted. Now the main aim was non-cooperation movement was to boycott all the foreign goods, foreign services and to adopt an Indian style of living. Now you can see this picture also here, the boycott of foreign cloth in July 1922. It has been shown over here. Foreign cloth was seen as a symbol of Western economic and cultural domination. So that's why they started to boycott it. Now we will see different strands within the movement. Now here we will be dividing this portion into the three types. First will be in our towns. The non-cooperation Khilafat movement began in January 1921. You need to remember the date. Various social groups participated in this movement, each with its own specific aspiration. All of them responded to call of Swaraj, but the term meant different things to different people. Now they all wanted to call for Swaraj or independence, but for different people, the meaning of Swaraj was different. Now let's see for the towns, the movement in towns. The movement started with a middle class participation in the cities. The thousands of students left government-controlled schools, colleges, headmasters and teachers resigned, and lawyers gave up their legal practices. The council elections were boycotted in most of the provinces except Madras, where the Justice Party, the party of non-Brahmin, felt that entering the council was one way of gaining some power, something that usually only Brahmins had access to. Now you can see most of the India part, students and teachers and the government officials left the government institutions, the buildings, they resigned with their jobs. But we saw of Madras, the Justice Party was there of non-Brahmins. They thought that if we are entering the council, it will give us some power. And in that time in Madras or in South India, Brahmins only had an access to power, but the non-Brahmins thought that if we are entering the council, then we will be gaining some power. So they did not participate in non-cooperation movement. The effect of non-cooperation movement on economic front were more dramatic. Now this is an important 3-mark question which is several times asked in the board examinations, and you need to justify the statement. Foreign goods were boycotted, liquor shops picketed. Picketed means a form of demonstration or protest by which people block the entrance to a shop, and foreign cloth burnt in a huge bonfires. The import of foreign cloth halved. Now see, you can see over here that the foreign cloth import was also reduced between 1921 and 1922, and its value was dropping from rupees 102 crore to 57 crore. Now this was a great economic depression for the Britishers. In many places, merchants and traders refused to trade in foreign goods or finance foreign trade. As the boycott movement spread and people began discarding imported clothes and wearing only the Indian ones, production of Indian textile mills and handlooms went up. But this movement in cities gradually slowed down for a variety of reasons. Now you can see over here that the non-cooperation movement in towns were going well, but now it slowed. Why it was so? Khadi cloth was often more expensive than mass-produced milk cloth, and poor people could not afford to buy it. The main was because the value of khadi fiber was very high. How then could they boycott milk cloth for too long? Similarly, the boycott of British institution posed a problem. Now, what was it? For the movement to be successful, alternative Indian institutions had to be set up so that they could be used in place of British ones, because it was a main source of earning some salary or earnings from the government. But now, people did not have any access to earning, and hence they would have their families being very poor. So these were slow to come up. So students and teachers began trickling back to government schools, and lawyers joined back work in the government courts. Now this was the rebellion in towns. Now let's see the rebellion in countryside. From the cities, the non-cooperation spread to the countryside. It drew its into unfold the struggles of peasants and tribals, which were developing in different parts of India in the years after the war. So there were peasants as well as tribals. Students, peasants, and tribals were forced and they were tortured by British officials, and that's why they had to join this non-cooperation movement. Here we will read two cases. First, we are discussing the case of Awadh. In Awadh, the peasants were led by Baba Ramchandra. He was a sannyasi who had earlier been to Fiji as an indented labor. So Fiji is a foreign country. There he was as an indentured labor or a forced labor. The movement here was against talukdars and landlords who demanded from peasants exorbitantly high rents and a variety of other cesses. Now it was because they had to give, or were forced to pay these much high rents, revenues. That's why they wanted to fight against talukdars and landlords, and that's why they participated in non-cooperation movement. Peasants had to do begar and work at landlords' farms without any payment. As tenants, they had no security of tenure. They were being regularly evicted so that they could acquire no right over the leased land. So their land, they did not have any right over them also. The peasant movement demanded reduction of revenue, abolition of begar, social boycott of oppressive landlords. Now what is begar? It was labor that villagers were forced to contribute without any payment because they were unable to pay the rents. So they need to do a forced labor, but they will not get in return any payments. So they need to oppose it, and that's why they participated in the non-cooperation movement. In many places, Nai Dhobi Bans were organized by Panchayat to deprive landlords of the services of even barber and washermen. And in June 1920, Jawaharlal Nehru began going around the villages in Awadh, talking to villagers and trying to understand their grievances or their problems. So they went in Awadh. Who? Jawaharlal Nehru. And they wanted to discuss about all the things, all the problems that the villagers faced. By October, Audh Kisan Sabha, this is very important, Audh Kisan Sabha was set up by and it was headed by Jawaharlal Nehru as he was his leader, its leader. Baba Ramchandra also was his leader and few others. Within a month, over 300 branches had been set up in the villages around the region. So when the non-cooperation movement began the following year, the effort of Congress was to integrate the Awadh peasant struggle into the wider struggle. They wanted Awadh peasant struggle to become broader, and they wanted this issue to be taken seriously. The peasant movement, however, developed in forms that the Congress leadership was unhappy with. As the movement spread in 1921, the house of talukdar and merchants were attacked, bazaars were looted, and the grain hoards were taken over. In many places, local leaders told peasants that Gandhiji had declared that no taxes were to be paid and land was to be redistributed among the poor. Now hence, because Gandhi's non-cooperation movement or a Swaraj was a heaven for these all people, they had got freedom. They wanted the freedom from talukdars, landlords, from begar and many other things. Here the name of Mahatma was being invoked to sanction all action and aspirations, and here they thought Mahatma as a great spirit. Now let's see another one in the Gudam hills of Andhra Pradesh. This is another case. Tribal peasants interpreted the message of Mahatma Gandhi and the idea of Swaraj in yet another way. We saw in Awadh that the peasants thought of Swaraj as a complete independence from the talukdars, landlords, as well as from begar and as well as from the rents. Now here tribal peasants, they thought it as a different meaning. Now what did they thought? In the Gudem hills of Andhra Pradesh, for instance, a militant guerrilla movement spread in early 1920s. Not a form of struggle that the Congress could approve. Here, as in the other forest regions, the colonial government had closed large forest areas which was preventing people from entering the forest to graze their cattle. So here people were not allowed to graze their cattle in the forest or to collect fuel wood and fruits. This enraged the hill people. Not only were their livelihoods affected, but they felt that their traditional rights were being denied, because as a tribal peasant, they were allowed, or they thought it as their tradition to go to the forest to graze their cattle, to rear their cattle over there, to cultivate the land. But here the government was not allowing them, it was continuously denying them, and they thought that their traditional rights are snatched. When the government began forcing them to contribute begar for road building, the hill people revolted. Now, as they were unable to pay the rent, they were also forced to do begar. Now here it was different. In the case of Awadh, they need to cultivate the land free of cost, but here they need to build roads free of cost, and as a result here hill people also revolted. The person who came to the lead was an interesting figure. In our previous session, or in this video, in our previous paragraph, we read that their leader was Baba Ramchandra, and here Alluri Sitaram Raju claimed that he had a variety of special powers, so he was their leader. He could make correct astrological predictions and heal people. Now he was their one-time famous hero, and he could survive even bullet shots. This was a philosophy given by Alluri Sitaram Raju. Captivated by Raju, the rebels proclaimed that he was an incarnation of God. Means it was made directly by God, or it was a blessing to them from the God. Raju talked of greatness of Mahatma Gandhi, said he was inspired by non-cooperation movement and persuaded people to wear khadi and gave up drinking, because the drinks were also foreign and khadi was our Swadesh. So he persuaded people, he provoked them to wear khadi instead of wearing the foreign clothes. But at the same time, he asserted that India could be liberated only by the use of force, not non-violence. So underline, students, over here, it is very important that he thought of India to get Swaraj, but in the case of non-violence, whereas Mahatma Gandhi wanted ahimsa or non-violence, but he was against of it. The Gudem rebels attacked police station, attempted to kill British officials, and carried on guerrilla warfare for achieving Swaraj. And Raju was captured and executed in 1924, and over time became a folk hero. So he was also a folk hero, and according to him the non-violence was not good, and as a result you can see he was captured and executed in 1924. Students, the question for this paragraph, which was asked in CBSE 2012, it was, who was Alluri Sitaram Raju? Explain his role in inspiring the rebels with Gandhiji's ideas. Now let's discuss Swaraj in plantations. Now I told you we will be discussing this in three types. First was the Swaraj meaning for towns, then we saw Swaraj meaning in the countryside, now we are seeing Swaraj meaning in the plantations. Now this is also another important topic for according to CBSE examination point of view also. Let's continue our story. Workers too had their own understanding of Mahatma Gandhi and the notion of Swaraj. For plantation workers in Assam, now what did they thought of Swaraj? Freedom meant the right to move freely in and out of the confined space in which they were enclosed, and it meant retaining a link with the village from which they had come. Now from this case you can understand that they were not allowed to go to the village where they had from, and they were just confined to a single space where they had to cultivate and they had to do labor. Now see, under the Inland Emigration Act of 1859, plantation workers were not permitted to leave the tea gardens without permission, and in fact they were rarely given such permissions. So that was the main cause that they wanted Swaraj. When they heard of non-cooperation movement, thousands of workers defied the authorities, left the plantation and headed home. They believed that Gandhi Raj was coming and everyone would be given land in their own villages. So they all thought Gandhiji as Mahatma. They, however, never reached their destination. Stranded on the way by a railway and steamer strike, they were caught by police and brutally beaten up. All of those workers. They had realized what they had done. The vision of these movements were not defined by Congress program, they interpreted the term Swaraj in their own ways. Now let's see how Congress program interpreted meaning of Swaraj, imagining it to be a time when all suffering and all troubles would be over. Yet, when the tribals chanted Gandhiji's name and raised slogans demanding Swatantra Bharat, they were also emotionally relating to all India agitation. They wanted India to be free, and that is all India agitation. When they acted in the name of Mahatma Gandhi or linked their movement to that of Congress, they were identifying with a movement which went beyond the limits of their immediate locality. Now they wanted the Swatantra Bharat, and it was leading to all India. The anger, they wanted a freedom, complete freedom. Now you can see this picture of Chauri Chaura of 1922. At Chauri Chaura in Gorakhpur, a peaceful demonstration in Bazaar turned into a violent clash with the police. Hearing of incident, Mahatma Gandhi called a halt to non-cooperation movement. Means there he called off non-cooperation movement because of the non-violent, so because of the violent clash with the police of people of there. That's all for today, students. Thank you and have a nice day. Tomorrow we will be discussing the civil disobedience movement. So now you can see, students, over here that it was a last incident after which Chauri Chaura, after which non-cooperation movement was taken away, or it was stopped to non-cooperation movement by Mahatma Gandhi. And it is an important landmark question. Thank you and have a nice day.